Hey yo, thanks for tuning in to The Source, your source for celebrity news. Check this out. On Thursday, while we were all trying to eat a little turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, collard greens, mac and cheese, and sweet potato pie, and chill with the family, another lawsuit dropped against P. Diddy. I was like, dang bro, can you please pause from assaulting people long enough for us to take a break and get something to eat? Well, anyways, the new lawsuit, which was filed by Joy Dickerson Neal, alleges that Diddy drugged and sexually assaulted her back in 1991. And not only did he film the whole episode, but he also showed and passed the VHS tape of her being assaulted to a whole bunch of dudes, including Jodeci's Devontae Swing. Listen, we got the paperwork, and we're gonna take a closer look at that. But just now, I'm looking on the computer, and Diddy has just been hit with a third sexual assault lawsuit that was filed by a Jane Doe who alleges that him and Aaron Hall from Guy arred her and her friend in 1990 or 1991. Oh my goodness, what is going on? Alright, we're gonna have to look at these cases one at a time. So first, we'll look at Diddy's second assault case, and then we'll look at his new case with Aaron Hall. But first, I have to share this with you. After Cassie settled her lawsuit, Lauren London's sister Capricorn Clark, who used to work for P. Diddy as his former longtime assistant, posted a very cryptic message online. And she said, quote, "Don't take the path of the wicked. Don't follow those who do evil. Stay away from that path. Don't even go near it. Turn around and go another way." Proverbs 4:14. The post was accompanied by an old black and white picture of herself wearing shades and sporting Banks, alongside a second image that contained the text, "They gon' cross you for somebody who gon' cross them," which was written in white against a black background. Now, after she originally dropped that post, a whole bunch of people were in the comment section like, yo, what does she mean? I cannot figure this out. Okay, really quick for context. Capricorn used to be the global brand director for Diddy's recording label Bad Boy, alongside being his personal assistant from 2001 until she left in 2012. However, according to sources, Diddy allegedly fired Capricorn for reportedly stealing from his label. Well, the other day Suge Knight may have helped us crack and decode the code, because he says Capricorn was not fired for stealing. She parted ways with Diddy because after Diddy found out that she was aware of Cassie seeing Kid Cudi, he was so upset that she didn't run back to him and snitch on Cassie that he took her outside and whipped her up and down the street. Check this out.
He had an assistant by the name of Capricorn. He felt Cap was keeping this shit on the low about if she was messing with Cudi or not. Puffy beat the shit out that bitch. Not only did he beat the shit out of her, it was an Interscope person, the Interscope check that paid her to settle or he wouldn't go to jail.
Yo, if this is true, P. Diddy really thinks that he's above the law. And it's crazy that you could beat some chick and don't nobody say nothing. But what I find very interesting is that because Capricorn Clark is Lauren London's sister, that means that Lauren London knows mad secrets about Diddy. Cause y'all know darn well that sisters talk. Alright, now that we got that out of the way, let's get into this lawsuit. So in the second case that was filed against him, which is in the Supreme Court of the State of New York in New York County, the plaintiff is Joy Dickerson Neal against Sean Combs, aka P. Diddy, Bad Boy Entertainment, DBA Bad Boy Records, Combs Enterprises LLC, and the plaintiff is demanding a trial by jury. Okay, so let's jump straight down to the nature of the action. 1. Plaintiff brings suit against defendants to redress the substantial and lifetime injuries that she has suffered as a result of being drugged, sexually assaulted, and abused, and being a victim of revenge porn that Sean Combs or P. Diddy created and distributed. 2. Plaintiff complains pursuant to the New York Common Law, New York Services for Victim of Human Trafficking Law, the New York State Civil Rights Law, the New York State Revenge Porn Law, the New York State Gender Motivated Violence Protection Act, and New York City Administration Code 10180B1 of the New York State Revenge Porn Law, and seeks damages to redress the injuries that she suffered as a result of being sexually harassed, abused, and a victim of revenge porn. Listen, this chick right here is not playing, and she was like, Mr. Attorney, make sure you cover all the bases. Now, on to the next section, the preliminary statement. Joy Dickinson was a college student at Syracuse University, pursuing a degree in psychology and filled with hopes for a bright future. While Miss Dickinson did not come from a family with means, she was raised by a single mother who instilled in her high moral and ethical standards and a strong sense of civic duty. She was whip smart, beautiful, and aware that her good reputation was an important asset to be safeguarded. On January 3rd, 1991, while on school break for the holidays, Miss Dickinson reluctantly agreed to an early dinner with Sean Combs or P. Diddy. They had many friends and acquaintances in common, and she had appeared with Combs in a few clips of a music video. After dining at the famous Wells restaurant in Harlem, home of the chicken and waffles since 1938, Combs pushed Miss Wells to keep him company as he attended to a few things in the city. Getting into the car with Combs that day was something that Miss Dickinson would come to regret forever. During their date, Combs had intentionally drugged Miss Dickinson, resulting in her being in a physical state where she could not independently stand or walk. Driving first to a music studio where she could not get out of the car, Combs proceeded to a place where he was staying to sexually assault her. As was his practice, but unbeknownst to Miss Dickinson, Combs video recorded the sexual assault. Days later, a male friend revealed to her that he had viewed the sex tape along with other men. Horrified, Miss Dickinson asked how many others saw it, to which he replied, everyone. Miss Dickinson's life went into a tailspin. She returned to college but soon had to be admitted into a hospital for severe depression and suicide ideation. Unable to function, she dropped out of college. Miss Dickinson has struggled with her mental health and career progression thereafter. The sexual assault and public exposure of it caused her to suffer overwhelming feelings of humiliation, embarrassment, violation, and constant apprehension about who all viewed it. As Combs' success and wealth rose quickly, she tried to block his existence out as she tried to put her life back on track. Still today, Miss Dickinson continues to work on her emotional health, economic recovery, and finishing her college degree. Seeking accountability from Combs under the law is one more step in that journey. Alright, so the next section is basically procedural requirements, which talks about the fact that this chick filed this lawsuit under the New York Adult Survivors Act, which began on November 24th, 2022 and ended on November 24th of 2023, which means that this chick right here slid this lawsuit in right at the buzzer. Alright, so zip, 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 skip, skip, skip. The next section brings us to parties, and it says Defendant Combs. Sean Combs, aka P. Diddy or Puff Daddy or Diddy, is a Grammy Award winning musician. At all relevant times, Combs was a resident of New York State. Prior to the release of Combs' debut album in 1997, Combs was a prominent member of the New York hip-hop community. From 1990 to 1993, Combs was known for working as a talent director at Uptown Records. Combs was also known for throwing parties that attracted thousands of attendees, including the who's who's of the hip-hop world. In 1992, Combs founded Defendant Bad Boy Records. In 2008, Combs was the first rapper to get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. In 2022, Forbes estimated that Combs was one of the wealthiest hip-hop artists in America, and his net worth was over $1 billion. Upon information and belief, Combs has a history of committing physical and sexual violence against women as documented in publicly available lawsuits and extensive media coverage. On May 8th of 2017, Cindy Ruta, Combs' personal chef, filed a suit in Superior Court of the state of California for the County of Los Angeles, alleging that he sexually harassed her. In 2019, Gina Hunn, an ex-girlfriend of Combs, detailed in an interview how he physically abused her. Tasha K is gonna end up being a witness. Yeah, this right here is about to be crazy. On November 16th, 2023, Cassie Ventura, an artist signed to Bad Boy Records, filed a suit in the Southern District of New York, alleging that Combs forced her to film herself having sexual intercourse with a sex worker. Given the extensive coverage of Combs' abusive treatment of women, defendants Bad Boy Records and Combs Enterprise LLC had knowledge and were put on notice of the sexual abuse allegations made against him. Okay, next defendant, Bad Boy Entertainment. In 1992, Combs founded Bad Boy Records, a record label which has sold over 500 million records, where he produced Mary J. Blige, The Notorious Big, and Usher. Bad Boy Entertainment is a domestic limited liability company licensed to do business in New York. Okay, so the third defendant is Combs Enterprise LLC. Combs Enterprise LLC is a domestic liability licensed to do business in New York. Upon information and belief, Combs Enterprise LLC is the parent company of Bad Boy Entertainment. Combs Enterprise LLC is a business conglomerate founded by P. Diddy that does business in music, entertainment, fashion, spirits, and television industries. Now, quick sidebar, this is just me. I find it very interesting that even though Bad Boy is a multi-million-dollar company, Diddy set up that company as an LLC, because usually smaller businesses do that. But he set it up so that all of his personal assets are not linked to the company. So if she wins against this particular defendant, she can't touch Diddy's personal money. Alright, so that brings us to the next section, plaintiff and factual allegations. It says, plaintiff grew up in New York City and was raised by a single mother. In 1987, plaintiff began attending Syracuse University as she was inspired to attend after hearing stories about her late father who had attended the university and had died the year that she was born. Plaintiff majored in psychology. Plaintiff was a hard-working student who balanced her studies while also working as a server at Wells Restaurant in Harlem, New York to pay for her education. Plaintiff was looking to make a foothold in the music industry and had worked as a receptionist at Apple One, a renowned talent agency, and as a location scout for Gary Brewer, an industry cameraman. Plaintiff also collaborated with Chuck Stone, a film director, on music videos for Grammy Award-winning artists A Tribe Called Quest and Michelle Indignaccello. Okay, so aside from Tasha K, now we're gonna have Michelle Indignaccello and Q-Tip up on that court stand. And I'm telling you, P. Diddy might want to thank his lucky stars that Phife Dawg is still not alive, cause I have a feeling he might have got up on that witness stand and said, this is a classic example of a date rape. Alright, so next, plaintiff met Sean Combs and learned of his reputation for abusing women. On repeated occasions, Combs pursued plaintiff for a romantic and sexual relationship. However, plaintiff had heard that Combs had a history of treating women badly and rejected Combs' advances each time. In fact, Sister Souljah, a rapper from the Bronx, pointedly asked plaintiff why she and Combs had been featured together in the music video for Straight from the Soul by Finesse and Sinquis. Plaintiff understood that Sister Souljah was warning her to stay away from Combs given his infamous reputation. Wait a minute, let me stop right here for a second, because this means that Sister Souljah has information on Diddy. Listen, I know that Sister Souljah is somewhere right now, probably writing her new novel called The Coldest Winter Ever, Part 10, but I'ma need her to come to the mic and spill the tea on what she knows about Diddy. Alright, so let's pick up right where we left off. Finally, on January 3rd, 1991, during her winter break, Miss Dickinson reluctantly agreed to meet Combs in New York City. Again, wary of being alone with Combs, plaintiff chose Wells Restaurant in Harlem, New York, which was a familiar environment as she worked there as a server and knew the employees. At Wells, plaintiff began to feel more comfortable as her and Combs engaged in conversation over food and drinks. Later in the evening, plaintiff had to utilize the restroom and left her drink unattended. Okay, let's pump the brakes one more time. Ladies, I don't know if your mama ever told you this, but you never leave your drink unattended anywhere, even if you're in the presence of people that you know. If you're in a club and you need to use the bathroom, you have one of your homegirls hold your drink. And if you're out on a date with some dude that you don't know from a can of paint and you use the bathroom, you come back and order a whole new drink, even if you have to pay for that drink yourself. You can't be out here just letting people Bill Cosby you. Okay, I'm going back to the paperwork. Combs indicated that he did not want the date to end and asked the plaintiff to join him in doing some errands that he had to run around the city. While driving with Combs in his car, Combs produced a blunt and asked the plaintiff to take a hit. Plaintiff politely declined, but Combs insisted that plaintiff should roll with him and promised to have her home at a decent time so that she could study. Feeling pressured, plaintiff reluctantly took a hit of the blunt. From that point on, plaintiff's memory is incomplete. You know something? You know what would really help me? If there were like some time indications on this darn document. I would like to know at what time these events are taking place. So I could create a picture in my head. I tried to call a restaurant, but nobody picked up, and you can't find out the times online. So like if you know what time like Wells Restaurant in Harlem used to be open, can you please like let me know in the comments? Alright, number 49. Plaintiff recalls Combs bringing her to a music studio, and when she attempted to exit the car, her legs felt rubbery and she was unable to stand. Plaintiff next recalls being outside of a residence where it seemed Combs was living, except he rang the doorbell. A man who was an acquaintance of both plaintiff and Combs answered the door. Alright, that right there is significant because we need to know who this person is. Because it means when Diddy took her into the crib and did whatever he did, this dude was in the crib. Okay, so next it goes on to say, plaintiff recalls that being odd, as she believed perhaps mistakenly that it was Combs' home. While in the home, Combs sexually assaulted plaintiff. Plaintiff recalls feeling humiliated and hurt, yet she could not escape the assault. Because she had been drugged, plaintiff lacked the physical ability and mental capacity to fend Combs off. The next day, plaintiff's vaginal area hurt in a way that she had never experienced from any prior consensual sexual encounters. Feeling confusion, pain, embarrassment, and shame, plaintiff did not go to the hospital or report the assault to the police and sought refuge in her apartment, avoiding any outside contact. The next day, plaintiff broke down and tearfully recalled Combs' sexual assault to her best friend. Shortly thereafter, Devontae Swing, a member of the R&B group Jodeci, told plaintiff that Combs had filmed himself sexually assaulting plaintiff and had shown the video to Swing and others while working at the studio. Plaintiff asked Swing who had seen the video and he replied, everyone. Plaintiff was mortified as she learned that Combs had filmed the assault and knew it would haunt her for the rest of her life and career. Swing told plaintiff that he wanted to speak up against Combs, but he was fearful that his band would lose their record deal. Jodeci was in the midst of recording their studio album Forever My Lady, for which Combs was doing A&R. Hold up, put on the hazard lights, because we gonna have to park right here for a minute. 1991. We were still recording videos using like the big behind camcorders. You know, the ones that you gotta prop up on your shoulder that got you looking like a cameraman from CNN News? I mean, you gotta remember, this is taking place in 1991, way before everybody had an iPhone. So, in order to tape this chick, Diddy had to be using a full-size camcorder with the blockbuster-sized tapes. Now, either she was so zonked that time elapsed, enabling Diddy to have time to go get the camcorder and film her, or he already had the secret setup in the crib ready to go. You know the setup where like the grimy dudes hide the camcorder somewhere in the room and put that black tape on the camera to hide the light that comes through when you're recording? Yeah, that setup. This is very interesting because if Diddy did already have the camcorder set up and ready to roll, this isn't a one-off. It's a practice, and that means that there could potentially be multiple Diddy tapes with various women circulating out there dating all the way back to the 90s. Oh geez. Something is telling me that P. Diddy has like a tape out there in one of them Harlem bodegas that they sell from behind that secret curtain. And I know, somebody's like, Sauce, what secret curtain? Listen, you don't even want to know what's behind that secret curtain at the bodega. And listen, all my New Yorkers know, if you know about that secret curtain, please let the people know that Sauce is telling the truth in the comments. And while you're down there leaving a comment, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Now, back to the complaint. The next section, which is bolded, says following Combs' assault, plaintiff suffered an emotional breakdown. In the coming weeks, plaintiff did her best to pull herself together so she could return to Syracuse University. Despite this, plaintiff experienced traumatic flashbacks to the assault, extreme sleepiness for days on end, social withdrawal, and would recoil even at the most basic physical touch. Plaintiff felt physically unable to leave her dorm at Haven Hall. Thus, she was frequently absent from her classes. Plaintiff also had an inability to focus and concentrate as her mind constantly replayed Combs' assault, leading her grades to plummet. Plaintiff's mother grew so concerned with plaintiff's sudden downturn in her emotional state and her repeated assertions that she no longer wanted to be here. Thus, plaintiff's mother instructed her to go to the emergency room. Plaintiff was admitted into a psychiatric unit to treat her emotional trauma, and her physicians diagnosed her as experiencing clinical depression. After plaintiff was discharged, she continued to experience emotional turmoil as everyday interactions triggered memories of the assault. Plaintiff also became socially isolated as her classmates labeled her crazy as they learned of her admission into the psychiatric unit. So now, in bold, it says plaintiff sought justice against Combs for sexually assaulting her. As plaintiff began to recover, she desperately sought to hold Combs accountable for the crimes he committed against her. Plaintiff's mom told her to contact Pastor Calvin Butts of the historic Abyssinian Church in Harlem, New York. However, plaintiff was too ashamed to speak to Pastor Butts as she worried he would judge her. Plaintiff filed police reports in New York and New Jersey and spoke to several prosecutors hoping to press charges. Members of law enforcement told plaintiff that her allegations would need to be corroborated by witnesses and others who had experienced similar assaults. Plaintiff also approached various friends, acquaintances, and colleagues to assist her in locating the revenge porn tape. Colleagues told plaintiff that they were terrified that Combs would retaliate against them and that they would lose future business and music opportunities if they made statements in support of plaintiff, as Combs' star was on the rise in the 1990s. Combs had just experienced great success with the launch of the career of the Notorious B.I.G., whose hit single Juicy had charted on Billboard. Some potential witnesses were afraid of Combs' wrath, as he was known to be violent, while others declined because they feared that they would not be invited to his future parties and events. Are you serious right now? Listen, I have been invited to Puffy's white party, and you know what I said? Nope, not interested. I mean, I can't even imagine saying to somebody who I was cool with, I can't be a witness in your sexual assault, because if I am, Puffy might not invite me to the tunnel when he throws his next party. Oh my goodness, are we serious right now? If this is true, you're supposed to tell what you saw and then mosey a little behind over to Red Alert's party at Bentley's. Alright, so the next section, which is bolded, says Combs tried to dissuade plaintiff from reporting him. Despite her emotional pain, plaintiff continued to work in the music industry and began working for Stress Management, a DJ management company that represented DJ Funkmaster Flex and others. At Stress Management, plaintiff's supervisor was Jessica Rosenblum, who was known for creating Mecca, a party series where many of New York's hip-hop legends performed. Plaintiff helped promote Rosenblum's parties and also acted as her personal assistant by completing any errands that she had. One night, plaintiff was working at one of Rosenblum's parties when she unfortunately ran into Combs and did her best to avoid talking to him. Despite plaintiff's efforts, Combs backed plaintiff into a corner and inappropriately confronted her in public. Combs dramatically dropped down on his knees before insisting that he wanted her to believe him when he said that he did not do what she was saying. You know what's very interesting? That scene right there reminds me of the same thing that he did with Kimora Lee Simmons after he said that he was getting ready to jack her up when she was pregnant. I mean, do you guys remember that? Anyways, Rosenblum noticed Combs' odd behavior and asked why he was begging her for forgiveness. Plaintiff merely told Rosenblum that Combs had wronged her, as she was afraid of divulging more, as Rosenblum often worked with Diddy. Alright, next section, bold print. Plaintiff left the music industry after Diddy's rise was too painful a witness. After working for stress management, Plaintiff began writing music video treatments. However, Plaintiff realized that she could not continue to work in the music industry as Combs' star continued to rise and his presence was inescapable. Plaintiff decided to try her hand at screenwriting and ended up moving to California, moving thousands of miles from the location of the assault. Plaintiff had always wanted to work at a record label, but she knew that dream had cratered as Combs continued to garner multi-platinum albums and win Grammys. Alright, we've made it to the next bolded section, which says Plaintiff's emotional trauma resurges. Plaintiff has spent years trying to recover from the emotional trauma she experienced at Combs' hands. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Plaintiff spent hours rereading her journals and digitizing them. However, she felt physically ill once she reached the time period in which she met Combs. Plaintiff could not stomach continuing with the project. It was the filing of the lawsuit about his abuse of Cassie Ventura on November 16, 2023 that forced her to face the assault again. After reading about the assault, Plaintiff spoke to an ex-boyfriend for the first time in years after reading Miss Ventura's lawsuit. During that conversation, Plaintiff's ex recalled how she would become physically ill and recoil every time Combs' music was played or his name was mentioned. Still hoping for justice, Plaintiff brings this case against Combs now. While many years have passed, Combs' illegal conduct has cast a shadow over her whole life. Years later, Plaintiff has continued to see mental health providers who have aided her in recovery and treated her PTSD. Tragically, despite several attempts, Plaintiff has not been able to finish her college degree as her subconscious associates her studies with the assault. Combs' conduct forever changed the trajectory of her career, denying her what might have been a lucrative and successful career in the music industry. Plaintiff is confident that she can prove her case through at least a dozen witnesses to testify to her severe emotional distress and harm that she experienced after the assault. Okay, so after that, the lawsuit goes on to list 5 different causes of action that this chick is trying to get Diddy on, which include assault and battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress, sex trafficking, revenge porn, and the New York State Victims of Gender Motivation Violence Protection Act. Now, just so you know, her attorneys are alleging sex trafficking not because he moved her from state to state, but because the sex tape that he allegedly recorded traveled across state lines. The lawsuit also states that she's seeking compensatory and punitive damages for mental and emotional injury, distress, pain and suffering, and injury to her reputation in an amount to be determined by a jury. Listen, my commentary on this is going to be fairly simple because I believe that if she can produce Sister Souljah and she can get Devontae Swing from Jodeci to get up on that stand and the attorney says, "Devontae, did you see that video?" and Devontae says, it's a wrap for Diddy. It's over. Yo, let me know what you think about the second complaint that was filed by Joy Dickinson Neal accusing P. Diddy of sexual assault. Do you think that she has a very strong case, or do you think she ain't winning that one, Sauce? Let me know what you think in the comments. Now, after all of that, another lawsuit dropped against Diddy yesterday, and in this lawsuit, a Jane Doe accuses Sean Puffy Combs and the singer-songwriter Aaron Hall of R-ing her and her friend in 1990 or 1991. The woman says that she met Combs and Hall at a record event where the men flirted and bought them drinks, and eventually they were invited back to Hall's crib. Jane Doe says, quote, while at Hall's apartment, she was offered more to drink and was coerced into having sex with Combs. After Combs finished doing his business, Jane Doe laid on a bed, shocked and traumatized. As she was in the process of getting dressed, Hall barged into the room, pinned her down, and forced her to have intercourse with him. Now, after that, Jane Doe says that she fled the apartment later to discover that her friend was also assaulted by both men too. A few days later, Diddy showed up at the home where Jane Doe was staying with her friend, and the complaint says, quote, he was irate and began assaulting and choking Jane Doe to the point that she passed out. Combs was searching for Jane Doe's friend because he was worried that she would tell the girl that he was with at the time what he and Hall had done to them. Oh jeez. Jane Doe reportedly told friends and family about the assault and sought medical treatment afterwards. Listen, I'ma tell you 100% facts, because I have met Aaron Hall and I know some Aaron Hall personal business. This dude right here is a very abusive dude who used to beat women, and the only reason why I'm saying used to is because I have no way of knowing what he does today, but boy do I know what he did yesterday. So I really hope that the chick who's suing like him and Diddy really comes with the receipts. And if she doesn't, I know a few women who will share theirs. Listen, let me know what you think about Diddy and Aaron Hall being sued for the SA. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. And hey yo, thanks for tuning in to Celeb Source, your source for celebrity news. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Peace.